I think we're live now.
Indeed, we are.
Oh, good.
Oh, there we are.
So hard to tell. But great. Yes, we are live. Lords, ladies, goodly gentles all, welcome to a brand new thing that we are not super sure how it's going to work.
Athena, ye of little faith.
Ye of much logic, which states that the task we have set before us is incredibly difficult.
Shenanigans.
Indeed. I suppose we should talk about what those shenanigans are for this evening.
Do you know what we're doing?
I do know what we're doing. I'm not sure why we're doing it.
Was
And it
it your idea? It was yours.
I think that is important to note. This was Athena's idea.
It was all Athena.
Good, good. Yes. Keep the blame upon me. I shall take it and bathe in it.
But it's going to go perfectly.
Bring the blame.
You can be really excited that it was your idea.
It's true. I can't wait to take all the credit at the end.
We are here to support you.
Thank you very much. I feel incredibly well supported today. I guess again, trying to talk about what we're actually doing here.
I think you're stalling is what you're doing.
100%. You see right through me. There is no game here whatsoever. Friends who are watching. Perhaps you are familiar with the works of Master William Shakespeare. Tonight, we are not. And that is not to say that we are not generally aware of and incredibly knowledgeable upon the works of Master William Shakespeare, but as to the specifics of what words go where, so it normally takes a great deal of time and concentration to memorize a piece of Shakespeare. A monologue, a soliloquy, an entire scene, what have you. We're not doing that. What we are going to do is hear a piece of Shakespeare once and attempt to recreate it for you today. This is Quadralogue.
How will it work?
Ye old telephone.
Indeed. Yes, we are playing Shakespeare Telephone today.
You know what this makes me think of is the goddess Theme, who was the goddess of gossip, and specifically had a very long golden trumpet through which I believe basically the oldest form of the telephone game would happen, of, of whatever news from Olympus, and it would distort on the way down. I think that's what we're doing. I just thought of it just now.
I was just going to ask, why didn't you provide us with this piece of information when we were attempting to name this program and came up with just an utterly bizarre fake made-up word?
Because we have this moment now.
Literally in this moment, seeing goddess names and other things, I was like, oh, there's a person who literally did this. And I slept on her, as I do.
Very apropos. I will say the chat has asked if this is also a drinking game, and if so, did we start early? I don't know what the rules would be to said drinking game, but
We need them.
We
are developing this game as we go. We're developing as we go.
I think the chat is very excited about how well the last drinking game went. And I'm not opposed to this idea, but I would like to reinforce to the chat, not every program is going to be a drinking game. Not opposed. I personally went back and forth incredibly before the stream began on do I have tremendous amounts of whiskey in order to like blunt my nerves about this, or do I stay stone cold sober so that I'm ready at any moment?
I did almost ask if we wanted to do a collective shot before we started, but then we started.
See, my short-term memory is the first thing to go with any abandonment of sobriety. So I would not retain a singular word of what I received.
I'm not sure any of us are going to retain a single word of what we received anyway.
I'm hoping for the first one. Nailing that opening word.
Opening word. I do hope that we will be able to carry through and potentially, like, if there's a rhyming moment in there, then that, like, we okay, at least I know, I may not know how I get to that rhyme, but those things rhyme. So let's provide a little bit of information about the structure of our evening tonight. We are going to be blessed with a wonderful piece of Shakespeare by the incredible, I hope she's over here on the screen. No, she would be over here. Thalassa! Woo! And
You had it right the first time, but that's fine.
I think it depends on your screen that you're looking at, because
I'm looking at the Twitch stream.
oh, good. So wait, does that
you
mean
were above
that is
me.
over here?
What?
Does that mean that the chat is actually over here?
Yes, the latter.
You know what? This
Not
is
gonna
not
worry about
important.
it.
This is not
Don't
important.
worry about it. It's fine. Okay, so we're all very shortly, except for Thalassa, Persephone, Selene, and I are about to leave you. Goodbye. Because Thalassa is going to introduce the piece that she is going to be performing. And then one by one, we will all be beckoned back into the space. We are going to mute everything. We can't hear a word. So you'll see gestures happening. We do know an order that we're going in. So we know who's being called in next, but we won't be able to hear anything. We will be welcomed back into the space, and Thalassa will then deliver, or I suppose only Selene will be welcomed back into the space originally. Thalassa will then perform the piece for Selene, who will then beckon me, Athena, into the space, and Selene, having heard it only once, will attempt to recreate it for me, and I will listen to it in terror, beckon Persephone into the space. I will telephone third hand, deliver what I think that monologue should be to Persephone, who will then have to deliver it back to all of us. We will then circle back with Thalassa and see so we can all hear what it was originally supposed to sound like. So that is the plan.
And first, we're going to make a blood sacrifice to Theme. So this goes well. Once we turn the cameras off, the lambs come in.
I theme you right now.
I theme you.
I don't know.
I'm stalling again.
You've got this. I'm not worried.
I don't got this, and I'm not worried. All right, ladies, I believe it's time. I believe it's time for us to depart. Thalassa, give us the boot.
I'm not wearing boots.
Or pants.
Give us the sock.
I'm not wearing
Here, I'll give us the alligator.
I don't even
How that's
I don't even have my slippers near me. Just go away. All right, everyone. I'm going to stall for just a little bit, just to make sure that they have muted their sounds on their Renaissance devices. and have also muted themselves, Athena and Persephone, just in case you need to have a panic attack. So, chat. Firstly, I would like to encourage you to take notes to help our friends. Oh, they're still not muted. I'm just going to pigeon them to tell them to mute their mics. All right. So, chat, I would love for you to be able to take notes to help them keep up with everything. The sonnet I've chosen is sonnet number 98. It's called From You Have I Been Absent in the Spring. And I chose this monologue or this sonnet because it has a lot of beautiful words about springtime. It feels very appropriate. It's also talks a lot about flowers. So hopefully we can remember the names of the flowers to try to get us all the way to the end. And hopefully it goes some sort of way. But I think it's time that we invite Selene in. So Selene, come, Selene. I don't know if this is going to work. Yes, it worked. Have you unmuted? Can you hear?
I now can hear you. The lambs are dead. We're ready to go.
I hope this went well for you. All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I went to a different window, so I couldn't see you. Here we are. From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud-pied April, dressed in all his trim, hath put a spirit of youth in everything, that heavy Saturn laughed and leapt with him. Yet nor the lay of birds, nor the sweet smell of different flowers in odor and in hue, could make me any summer story tell, or from their proud lap pluck them from where they grew. Nor did I wonder at the lily's white, nor praise the deep vermilion in the rose. They were but sweet, but figures of delight drawn after you. You pattern all of those. Yet seemed it winter still, and you away, as with your shadow I with these did play.
Okay, it's spring.
So come in, Athena.
That was fast. I'm not ready.
Okay. I'm going to try very hard.
I'm here to support you. I'm here to support you, and I guarantee that your version will be better than mine because you have primary source material.
Oh, but that you were like spring to me with something about the trim.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Something about trim. Is there trim on it?
There's a trim of Saturn, I want to say. And I am comparing it to the planet of Saturn, how he laughs and leaps, and it is still not up to the standard of the odor of the flowers that I would pick in the springtime, which are lilies, the white of the lilies and the vermilion of the rose. Strong imagery, and yet after the spring, they pale in comparison to the shadow of you.
Cool.
All right, Persephone. She's just refusing to come, if you know what I mean.
Everyone wave your arms.
I'm coming.
Needs to be watching earlier. The faster you come in, the faster I can retain.
I thought it was part of it. Okay, sorry. I thought it was part of the memorizing.
No, I haven't had a chance to practice at all. Oh no. We had discussed previously, like, as long as we can get at least bits of the first line right, we'll be good. Nope.
Okay.
I do. Okay. All right. Oh, but you remind me of the spring.
I love that. I am.
Oh. Oh, but you remind me of the spring.
Yes, he wrote it with like 5 eyes. Oh, but you remind me of the spring. And on your arms, and on your arms, the satin there doth lay. Wherein, just trying, this is Shakespeare, it's fine.
Good.
Wherein the month of May, the birds do sing, and flowers lay white and red upon the bay.
Oh, God.
One stanza.
There's more?
I think it's a sonnet.
Oh, I've already forgotten.
Should we do more of those and then a rhyming couplet? Oh no. Nothing rhymed though in what I was given. So this is fully invented out of the thin air. Something about Saturn as well. Saturn doth smile upon thy face. Mhm. As I compare thee to a summer's day. Wrong.
Shall you?
Shall. Let me count the ways. And white do bloom the lilies, the million of the rose. And my love for you doth waft as the wind does blows.
Does blow. Wait, blows?
I had to rhyme with rose.
You
Blows,
sound
not blows, not blows.
like,
That's what you're getting.
like-
That's what I've got.
okay, you sound like Harold from Moulin Rouge. The end of the
Everything's going so well. It's not.
Okay, are you done?
Sure. That's certainly all I remember. What I remember is spring, satin trim, Saturn, the white of the lilies, the vermilion of the rose. That's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's my turn. All right. Okay. Was any of that correct?
It started with "Oh, but you."
And I will admit, I gave more of a loose summary of the things that I heard.
Oh, for a muse in spring.
Correct number of eyes, yes.
Who himself or herself wore satin in the breeze. And when Saturn aligned with her vermilion eyes, I soon became sad with a sigh. I'm done.
And scene. Electrona is very impressed. Frankly, I am very impressed. I do not know where everyone else in the chat is. That was so impressive, actually. Selene.
I want to try again. I want to receive it and try
Step into
again.
my office, Selene, if you would. That was really impressive. You retained a lot. Like, that was crazy. And then the fact that, Athena, you did try to turn it back into a sonnet. Do you want to hear the real thing?
I do, yes.
I will say too, the thing about Thalassa's performance that made it so helpful is she really acted it. So I had some visual clues to bank back in on instead of just audio information. So I remembered she did this with her hands and made this face, and this was the
You did
emotion.
this with her hands, I got that. This is my I'm doing Shakespeare now pose.
You're doing Shakespeare now.
You're framing your skeletons in the back. So
Your local Renaissance fair.
apparently someone timed us, and I think the person who did it the fastest should win. I'm just saying. Because I'm apparently a minute behind all of you.
I feel like I took forever.
We do have our run times if we are curious as
Oh,
well.
yes.
Because Luke is on the stream, so he's,
Hi, Luke.
taking care of us the way he does. My version was 53 seconds.
Oh,
Selene was 1 minute and 7 seconds. Athena's was 2 minutes and 57 seconds.
Actually, not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
And Persephone, the closest amount of time to mine was 57 seconds.
Spot on, Persephone. Good job.
Yes. So why don't we listen to the real, or the full text, I should say, the unabbreviated text.
Not the Spark Notes version.
Not the remix.
No. Not the modernized version.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It goes, and I will do it the way I did it for Selene as well. From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud-pied April, dressed in his trim, hath put a spirit of youth in everything, that heavy Saturn laughed and leapt with him, yet nor the lay of birds, nor the sweet smell of different flowers in odor and in hue, could make me any summer story tell, or from their proud lap pluck them from where they grew. Nor did I wonder at the lily's white, nor praise the deep vermilion in the rose. They were but sweet, but figures of delight drawn after you, pattern of all of those. Yet seemed it winter still, and you away, as with your shadow I with these did play.
I think we were
So-
close.
So close. Oh, so we were spot on with all of the birds and the leaping. The smells.
The hero.
I didn't realize April was the one wearing the shirt.
I'm genuinely, the thing that I'm genuinely surprised about is a sonnet is only 14 lines of Shakespeare. It doesn't sound like that's very much text. That shouldn't be a problem at all. That is so much text. That is so much Shakespeare. And it's so dense. And there's imagery in every single line, and it's how I'm now blown away by Selene, who was able to pick out so many of those details.
It was
Well
really,
done.
I condensed the flowers into too simple of a package instead of like 8 lines about flowers. And differing in odor and hue, and then explaining how you then pick them.
We felt very strongly about flowers this day when we wrote this sonnet, apparently.
It's true.
And can you explain the ending? It's basically saying, so we've gone through this wondrous springtime comparison, and then we're saying, what happens in winter? And what am I playing with?
I'm not going to lie, the last couplet definitely feels like, and if you know what I mean.
Can you do it again?
Yes. Yet seemed it winter still, and you away, as with your shadow I with these did play.
With these what?
You weren't there, so I played with these things.
Or maybe it's pomegranates. Maybe this is Hades and me.
But
Maybe I should have known this.
He didn't write about pomegranates.
Writing about people's flowers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. It was winter in my heart because I could not play with these, so I went and played with everybody else.
This is flowers.
Very possible. Did you just say phallus?
No, I said, you said everyone else. So I said, everyone else's flowers.
I heard with his phallus, which is certainly to what I was obliquely referring.
This was big. We were talking about Ferdinand a while back. Oh, because we were talking about Miranda's monologue. This was weeks ago. And everyone's monologues that we joined the stream with came back to like a similar theme in their text of like, oh, I could have my pick of the litter, but you. Oh, but you. And this has some of that energy of, well, I must occupy myself in absence of you. Other flowers.
Big prick energy, as it were. That was hard. That was hard to do.
You all did really splendid, though.
I'm very sweaty.
Reminds me of those terrible improv opening games where they're like, oh, we'll do something very specific. And then 40 minutes from now, you, the ensemble, will retain it and be able to build a scene from it. And of course you can't. And then I would just spend my time hanging on to the specifics that would never be used. That's what it felt like.
Agreed.
It's like being in a escape the room where you just focus on something pops up and you go, oh, I have to remember that part. I have to remember that part. But, Athena was saying May, which wasn't even anywhere part. She's like, there's a month in there.
There's a month in there.
Yes. Yes.
And she had vermilion eyes.
Perhaps it was winter in Persephone's story because she was a vampire. With white skin as well.
Well,
She was drenched in blood, undead.
I know.
From you in spring, I have drained 1 liter of plasma.
Oh my god.
Contemporary Shakespeare version for vampires. Shakespeare for vampires. New
There's our next stream.
next stream. Shakespeare for vampires.
I think we can take Athena's ideas again. I think this went well.
I did say that if it went well, I would claim all the credit. I think it went extremely. I accept both blame and credit on this one.
I think this was fun. I liked
It was absolutely fun. I had a very interesting time.
Audience, what do you think?
I think the next time we will all coordinate and have vuvuzelas ready ahead of time that we look like theme, and then we recite it through the end of the vuvuzela into the Zoom screen.
Yes. Shakespeare sounds best when done like this. Oh, I sound like Bane.
Oh, you do.
Thou wast born in the darkness. No, I was born in the darkness. Thou hadst it thrust upon you. Some are born in the darkness. Some achieve darkness, and some have darkness thrust upon them.
She's off book.
Awesome.
I don't like when they cover his face. He's very handsome. That's all.
It's true. I think that I just as a last note, I was also just deeply reminded how much work it really takes to do Shakespeare and do it well. Because there's so many elements that you have to keep in mind. You have to keep scansion in your head, and the subtext that he has made so incredibly difficult to pass through, and rhyme schemes and structure, and it's there's a lot happening in there, and it's a challenge to try to fake it.
Well, and then even the next layer of once you as an actor have these words, it's a whole other task to make sure it translates to the people receiving those words. Because we've all attended a Shakespeare performance where we're like, I have no idea what's happening because this was not really directed. And they're just kind of standing there regurgitating text. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't tell you how anyone feels or what anyone wants or any of that.
Or any of those references, no clue.
I will say, as I was trying to pick a sonnet for this in particular, I kept trying to find sonnets that had particular words that I knew I could like pull, of like April and trim and plucking flowers and things like that, because it's something you don't really think about, but you can instantly tell if the person speaking the lines does not know what they're saying. Mm-hmm. It is just so obvious. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a question in the chat from Electrina who wants to know, what is the first thing you look at when you are first looking at a monologue that you have to perform?
I try to go through it and not translate it necessarily into contemporary English, but to go through and figure out what is he actually trying to say in this particular line, and is there a particular emphasis that needs to be put in here, which he does incredibly well with things like scansion and punctuation, but it is sometimes important to try to. I'm not using this pen. I stabbed myself with it earlier as a sacrifice. I don't know why I still have it. But to sort of pass through and almost de-Shakespeareify it, de-densify it and say what's actually being said here, so that I know what I'm saying, so that we don't end up with those moments that Thalassa and Selene are speaking about. And then I can go back through and say, excellent, what are the too many words that he has used to try to say this?
Right. We were talking about this right before we started streaming, just with breaking it down, and that's how I work too. I read through the entire thing, and I have a feel of, all right, this I kind of understand what he's saying, or this I have no idea what he's saying. But I like to read through the whole thing, so then I can go back and then break it down some more, and really, because there's even words that are not very common that we use anymore. So then you have to look up what this word means. But some words that we have now meant something completely different at the time. So there's a lot, like you were saying, Athena, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And you can tell when the performers or the director or whoever has put in the work to really understand. But what's so beautiful about it is that it still translates into today and things we're going through today. And that's why, you can see some really, really great shows that modernize Shakespeare, because you've seen that they've put in the work, and you've seen that they can put it in a time period that doesn't make, that you never would have imagined it going into. So that's how I break it down and deconstruct it. And it's just really thinking about, what was Shakespeare trying to say here? Am I looking at this in context with the show, or am I looking at this in context out of the show for whatever reason, a monologue or whatever, or is this a sonnet where it's not part of a show and you have to kind of go, what do these flowers mean in his sonnet?
There's no characters here.
Yeah. And right. I think that's where it becomes very fun with some of the modern interpretations and, new takes on Romeo and Juliet or whatever. We've all seen something that really bends it from the original version maybe we received in school or something. And I think it becomes really fun that way, because it's exciting to see anything that you can reapproach as like the contextless scene of just A and B characters, and what is the actual subtext here? And if this language is so lofty, why can't we rework what this metaphor is actually about? I think that's just so exciting and entertaining. And I do agree with Athena and Persephone. I think the first thing I do with a monologue is kind of modernize it, so that I then, as the actor, understand every point I'm trying to make. What's my tactic here, and why am I using this metaphor about this god for this moment of things, and all of that. But then coupled with, if it's for a specific project, what is that project's intention? Because if I'm doing this very modern Romeo and Juliet, maybe it's going to perform very, very differently for some of these euphemisms and things than it would for a more traditional staging.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Thalassa?
I think the first thing I look for is yes, to make sure that I understand what's being said. But especially for me, it's the individual words. Like if there's a weird word, I don't know if Shakespeare made it up or not. So I need to go make sure I actually know what it is, whether it's being pronounced in an interesting way because scansion or what have you. Because those are the things that I think trip me up the most, is whenever there's a funky word. So if I don't know it, I instantly, I will either do a deep dive, or if it's like, this word is going to trick me up every single time, I'm not doing this monologue for this audition. Like, it's not worth it. If it's for a show, obviously that's a different story and I'll work on it. But for the sake of an audition, nah.
Well, thank you for choosing something without any of those words.
Yes.
Although they may have stood out. I will say that. It may have been a point to like grab onto and be like, I know I have to say, I don't know. The only word that's coming to mind is tempestuous, but that's not anywhere near the strangest type of word that you find in Shakespeare.
I will say, though, the Tempest is the famous example where every time I've interacted with it, I've been corrected that you never are supposed to say with the scansion Milan to refer to the place that every single noble is from. The scansion makes it Milan, every single instance of Milan in the play. And I have been stopped in my tracks many times by the stage manager saying, Milan, you do not say Milan, it is Milan. And then I'm like, no one in the audience will understand the place I am referencing. If I'm talking about Milan, they'll think it's just a new place and not Milan. Tempestuous.
I always think about scoon.
Scoon.
In Macca's, which is written as scone, but is pronounced in Scottish dialect, and the regional in like, I suppose, form of Gaelic from which it derives is pronounced scoon technically, but
I always thought it was scone. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's scoon.
Version of the show too, isn't it?
Well, I think Athena makes a joke.
It might be my personal little vendetta that I've thrown in there. I think technically the joke is with scones at scone. And then I tend to, under my breath, go scoon.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments that's just for me. And anyone Scottish in the audience.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us and watching us panic and end up with, I think, a fairly reasonable version of that sonnet, which, frankly, adheres to exactly what we all just said we do in trying to learn a monologue, which is to break it down to figure out what's actually being said and hone in on those particular anchor points, whether they are imagery or particular tricksy words. So I think we've done an excellent job.
I think we should save these renditions and send them as our to our Patreons, to our patrons, as the.
Well, hopefully they're just watching.
I know, but put it on, because we send out, you get, here's our favorite quote of the month or whatever. That could be it.
Oh, yes.
No.
It's true. It's true. On next month's rewards, maybe we just use something about her vermilion eyes, which is from Shakespeare. Yes.
Although, speaking of our Patreon supporters, we do have a list of Patreon patrons to highlight on our stream. Yeah. So if you're not already supporting us on Patreon, you know where to go. You can support us at any of our tiers. But a special shout out right now to Chris, Luke and Brianna, Mo, Kyle, Mary, Tyrone, William, Jake, Amelia, David, Sarah and Lilith, and Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's
I pronounce that one like a small child saying snakeskin. So like snakeskin.
I apologize for severely butchering your name, friend.
But we love you and we thank you for your patronage.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you all. Thank you for going on this journey with us.
Yes.
So fun.
And please feel free to follow us on all social media, which is also a great place to let us know how you enjoyed or didn't this program. If you didn't enjoy it, you don't have to say anything. But if you did enjoy it and want to see more of it, let us know. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all of them at Vixens on God. And if you really, really enjoyed it, then you can also send us a little love, if you know what I mean, at Venmo, at Vixens on God as well. So thank you all, and we will see you for something entirely new next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Exunt!